Importantly, we're able to make fundamental reforms to the Corps of Engineers through House-passed legislation. And I want to talk about this one a little bit. We now chair the Water Resources Subcommittee, which I'll tell you, getting that gavel in a second term was pretty amazing. That was a long shot, and we were able to win that one. And what it did is it put us in the room for drafting these bills. The Corps of Engineers has been one of the greatest frustrations in my life. Having an agency that can go out there and study projects for decades, can spend tens of millions of dollars without ever putting a shovel in the ground. Those are our dollars. Again, it's not fair to people that are paying for it, and it's not fair to those people that are dependent upon the success of the delivery of these projects. So what have we done? Number one, in that legislation, we improved the ability of parishes, levy board, the state of Louisiana, and CPRA here, to take the lead on these projects whenever they can deliver them faster and cheaper, whenever they can deliver something that's more responsive to the public demands. Instead of stepping in and doing a spot dredging where the Corps of Engineers may pay a company $1 million to send a dredge from the East Coast to here to come dredge, we have them give them the authority to do a 5-year dredging contract where they can group channels like the Atchafalaya River, the Mississippi River, Bayou Lafourche, and Houma Navigation Canal, all in a 5-year contract, keeping a dredge here, working permanently, turning dirt and restoring the coast instead of spending money on mobilization and demobilization costs. And by the way, ensuring the depths of these canals to where we can maintain the top 5 ports in the nation. And importantly, perhaps the thing that I'm most excited about, is that we've included provision in there that begins the process to move the Corps of Engineers out of the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense. So here we have Secretary of Defense Mattis out there focused on Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and wetlands permits. It reminds me of the Sesame Street, which one's different? It has absolutely no compatibility with the agency mission, and no compatibility with the priorities of the Secretary. That is what, in my opinion, has allowed this agency to become both slow and expensive. And we have the opportunity to fix that. And just 2 weeks ago, the President released an innovation initiative that included moving the Corps of Engineers partially to the Department of Transportation and partially to the Department of Interior. I'm not saying we fully support his vision, but moving it out and getting support from the administration is certainly very helpful. You asked about the Corps of Engineers and what that reform would mean locally. If we were able to reorganize the Corps, put them in a different agency, what would be the impact here? And so let me go back to my personal experiences when I was working with the state on hurricane protection and coastal projects. We routinely were able to deliver projects for 1/2 to 1/3 the cost of the Corps of Engineers. Think about that, 1/3 to 1/2 the cost. If we're able to employ those successes across the nation, that's building 2 to 3 times as many projects as we're building today. Right now, the Corps of Engineers across the country has a backlog of about $100 billion. Approximately 1/3 of that is in the state of Louisiana. That's incredible. So this has a disproportionate impact on us. Some of the things that we've done, and I touched on this earlier, we've been working to circumvent the Corps of Engineers. $300 million through FEMA, $1.2 billion through Department of Housing and Urban Development, giving those funds to the state, trying to circumvent the Corps, their delays and their expense. So what it means, I think, when you look at reorganizing and putting it in a different agency, you're going to see a cabinet secretary that truly prioritizes the mission. You're going to see a situation where projects are not allowed to languish or sit back and drag on for not years but decades, as we've seen in the state of Louisiana. And I think locally we can talk about projects like right now, and I want to highlight this. Right now, we are working on a program of bringing various funding sources together to help advance nearly $1.5 billion in flood protection projects for this region. This is something we've been working on for about 15 months. Important projects like the Comey project that we've delivered $37 million on, or I think in excess of 10 times the amount of money that was provided in the previous 3-year period. Projects like the East Baton Rouge Parish flood control, helping to improve drainage on the 5 bayous in East Baton Rouge Parish, from up in the central area down to areas around the Country Club of Louisiana. Projects like West Shore of the River region and a couple of others. So we can't just get money for these projects. We can't deliver projects efficiently through this current system. I think what it means is taking these projects that have been around and backlogged for decades, like the Washington Street exit 40 years, the Comey project 30 years, and finally breaking the logjam and actually delivering. The state of Louisiana has developed an impressive capacity through the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority to be able to carry out these projects, and I think rival the expertise of the Corps. And I think that you will see projects delivered, people being protected, and more importantly, by being proactive, we save billions of dollars because these communities are protected and resilient, and we're not coming in and picking up the pieces after a flood, spending billions.